Hey everyone, it's Rhonda here from Nelson's Soapery. Today I thought I'll take you along while I'm actually making something. So I've got to actually do some blueberry body cream here. It's not really a body butter. It's basically a hybrid, half lotion, half body butter. And what I'm actually going to be doing is designing this so that I can get this ready for one of the local stores that I'm going to be stocking it in. It's a new product and a new label just to suit my naturals range. So this is just going to be a few in amber jars. There's not going to be a lot of this particular one, but we will have a couple different scents. One will be a pink clay, one will be a beautiful blueberry, and one is going to be a kaolin clay and lavender one. So that's what we're doing at the moment. So I thought let's take you along with me while I'm actually making this sample pot up, just so that you can see exactly how I do it and what goes in. So let's get and make. Before we do anything, the first thing to do, of course, is get your containers and everything else. Make sure all this station is super duper clean. Make sure that you rub everything down, either with rubbing alcohol or a light bleach solution. So it's up to you, whichever way you want to do that. I personally use isopropyl, which is a rubbing alcohol, which cleans everything up beautifully. So that's what I'm going to do first. And then, of course, you need to spray your benches, everything you're going to use, absolutely everything, even the stick blender, the whole lot needs to be totally sprayed down, because if you don't do that, the problem is then you can get the nasties, the bugs and the mold, and everything can start to grow. So we definitely don't want anything like that. We want to do as much as we can to make sure we're making everything perfect. So you can see my container that's clean. I've got it sitting in the water. I'll actually have two. I've got two on either side, so I have two little pots, and if you can put them in the same pot, but these won't fit, so there's going to be one in each. And then basically the main thing we want to do is get the two different ones together and boil them up at the same time. So one is going to be an oil container, the second one will be a water container. I'll show you as we're going along exactly how I actually do all that and a few little tricks along the way. So let's get started and we'll make some magic happen with this beautiful cream. So let's start with this beginning, of course, and we're going to be adding in our distilled water. It does need to be distilled water, so because our water that you have in your normal taps, that does have additives in it, and we don't want any of that. We want it as clean as and beautiful as we possibly can get it. And I always add about 1 extra gram on top, just in case we lose a little bit of water, and which of course we usually will, because, you know, remember we're doing a double boil. Now your water content will depend on whether you want it to be a lotion, a body butter, and so on. So obviously a lotion's more sort of liquidy, a body butter is thicker. Even though this is emulsified, meaning we're using waters into this as well, because a traditional body butter does not have water, it's just oils and butters. But we're kind of doing a hybrid of two, so it's in between a lotion and in between a body butter. So that's what I'm going to do today, and like we said, we've got our water in here. Now to color it, I'm going to be adding some beautiful blueberry powder. You can get all of these from natural stores, as well you can get it from suppliers online, but we're going to just add that in. If you don't want to color, you don't need to add any color at all, but let me just grab this and we'll add this in. Now this is a small test batch for me, so I'm only going to be using about 1/8 of a teaspoon. And if you can see the blueberry powder, it's kind of like a grayish blue, but it's really, really pretty. And we're just going to, like I said, add it into the water. And you can see the water slowly turn this pretty blue. You know, look, you can put more in if you want, but I always sort of say, you know, less is more. You don't want to put too much in, because it's just not going to be good. Now inside this we want glycerin, because glycerin is really, really beautiful on the skin as well. It just adds that nice slippy kind of silky feel to it as well. But because to thicken it up a little bit, I'm also going to use some xanthan gum. What we need to do is mix our glycerin with the xanthan gum, because what I actually did when I first was learning this, I put the xanthan gum straight in the water and it got thick and gooey and it got all messy, and I thought, oh no, what have I done wrong? But you need to actually mix that in that. So there's no good mixing it in the water. It's just not going to go very well, and it'll get too thick and gluggy, and then basically your cream will feel like stringy. It kind of feels like, you know, overcooked pasta is what it reminds me of. So yeah, so the first batch I had to throw out because I did that wrong, but it's all a learning curve. So in here, this is our water content. So like I said, we've got our water in here. We've also got our blueberry. Now I'm going to be adding in a little bit of aloe vera. You don't need to do that. You can just keep water if you want, but that's my recipe of adding some aloe vera gel. So I'm definitely going to add that. So now we'll leave this here. I'm going to add the gel, and like I said, then I will show you how we're going to mix up the xanthan gum with the glycerin. So let's get on to that. So now we have our small container. Now this is the bit that I said we're going to be adding in the xanthan gum and of course some glycerin. So I just want to pop in my amount in here, which is going to be 4 grams is what I'm adding in here. And we do need to work with grams because grams are more precise as well. And that is pretty good. So we've got everything that we need on here, and like I said, now we're going to be adding in the xanthan gum. Now we only need a very, very small portion, and it is sometimes really hard to get these portions right because you remember we're just measuring this up in such small doses. Usually I would honestly do 10 times this amount and make lots of them at once, but when you're testing, you only want to do something that's like 100 to 200 at the very most grams in total. You don't want to do a massive amount, but like I said, we've got our glycerin in here, and let me show you how beautiful the glycerin is. See how it's just like nice and silky, and you can imagine that going on your skin, just absolutely beautiful. So now, like I said, we're going to get the xanthan gum, and xanthan gum you can get at any cake store. I mean, they actually put this in cakes. So let's just get that, and we'll add some of that in. And I will show you what it actually looks like. Let me just open the container. So this is what it looks like. It's just like a little powder form. It kind of looks like a bit of white powder, to be honest. And we are just going to be adding that in. We really don't need very much at all. And it actually does, it takes a while to get up to the extra gram, to be honest. And that is about it. We'll just add a tiny bit more. So this will be the one, and it doesn't often even, it's very hard to even get it to come up on the scale, to be honest, at the 1% or 2% that I usually want to use. I've only got 1% in here, so a very small portion just so that we can practice. And then basically this is what it's going to look like. It's just like a little gooey amount. And now basically what we want to do is we want to add this now into our blue water that we did before. So I'll grab that and show you. So now here is the water that we used before. So we're just going to pour this in, and straight away when you mix it, you'll start to see that it will kind of look a little bit like clag glue. It will start to get thick and a little bit crazy straight away, but not too crazy, because that's why we've mixed it, so that there's no lumps and bumps. So this bit is done. Now I wanted to show you what it looks like. Can you see how it looks really kind of gluish looking in there? That's what we want. So don't panic when it looks like that, and I promise you it will all come together soon. So we're going to put this one in our double boil over here, and then we're going to work on to stage 2. Now stage 2 means we need another glass container that's cleaned, and then we're going to add the oil contents in here. So let me get all the oils organized, and I'll put all of these things away so I don't forget what I'm up to, because that's the thing, when you're making emulsified body products, you really do need to be alone to really concentrate. Make sure you're keeping everything super clean. It's the only way you're going to be able to concentrate and make this beautiful. And I know that it looks hard watching, but honestly, once you've done a couple, you'll be fine. When I first started, I was so scared to make this, but as you go along, you realize it's actually not that hard, and it's actually quite exciting to see it all come together. So like I said, next we are going to be organizing our oil phase. So we'll grab some oils and butters, and then we're going to pop them in. All right, so on my scale, we have our container, and I'm just going to undo my beautiful shea. I get all of my shea and cocoa from Deluxe Shea. It is absolutely beautiful, and it feels just gorgeous and squishy. So that's what I love about it. I actually use the unrefined. So, but it's up to you what you want to use. So let's pop some in, and this is what it looks like. Doesn't it look just gorgeous? So we will make sure we're adding the right amount, and you do want the numbers to be pretty right. You can't just add 2 or 3 less or more. They really do need to be right, and that one's a bit too much, so let me find this up. And that's why I said it does need to be right, so don't think, oh well, it's a couple off, it's fine. We'll try and do this as close as we can. I'm just going to take a tiny weeny bit more off that. That is pretty good. So I will just wrap up my shea that's behind the counter so that it's nice and clean. All right, so like I said, we've got our gorgeous shea in here. And remember, like I said, this is a tiny small amount. This is not a big amount as well. Now we want our sweet almond oil. You can use any carrier oil you want. It doesn't have to be sweet almond oil. There's so many different ones. The only one I really wouldn't put is coconut oil, because I just feel like it's not that great on the skin. But that's just my personal opinion. It just depends on what you really like. So let's just pop in our sweet almond oil. And as I said, the measurements do need to be right. So that one is pretty good. So we've got that one all done. And now next we are going to be popping in jojoba oil. This is one of my favorite oils in the world, but you don't need to add this. You can add whatever you like. So just a tiny bit of that. Next, we need to add in our emulsifying wax. Now, this emulsifying wax is actually what thickens it up and makes it the luxury cream. So this is what it looks like. It's just little tiny beads. So I just thought I'll show you what these look like. And we're just going to be adding these ones in as well. So let's just pop the right amount in. You can buy these from all the suppliers online. I actually got these ones from Aussie Candles, but you can get them from N Essentials, Heirloom if you're in Australia. I'm sure Brambleberry and all of those other places in the US sell them if you're over there. The UK would have many places as well. And this one, you want to get it right. You don't want to put too much or too less, because that means that your mixture won't be the consistency and beautiful and thick as you want it. So now we've got that, and the very last thing we're going to be putting in is cetyl alcohol. Now, I may say some of the words wrong, and I'm sorry if I pronounce them wrong, but I will put all the links where I've got everything down the bottom. Now, the one thing I like about cetyl alcohol is it just gives a beautiful, like, slippy kind of silky feeling to the cream lotion. That's what I really like. I never actually used it until I started watching Humblebee and Me, and she was talking about it and did quite a big talk. And it's a really good listen. It's a little bit scientific, but it is a really good listen. So read up about it, everyone, because I didn't used to put it in when I started. I just put my typical emulsifying wax and that was it. But it does really, add to it. There's lots of other things that you can add as well, like colloidal oats. You can add all the different clays and things like that. There's just so many different oils that have different benefits and so on in it. And don't be scared to add a fragrance oil later on, or an essential oil, whatever you like. But I will tell you, some essential oils do not love this mixture. I used just a tiny couple drops of jasmine the other day, and it actually separated and destroyed my whole mix. So that's why you need to practice all of these things and do a few test batches and just see if it actually works. Because sometimes, they don't work. Like, And many of you may not know, but my son-in-law, he is actually a barber, so he has been creating his own line of tattoo oils and balms and things like that. And the one thing I think he was saying the other day, he's up to test number 60. So he has done 60 different batches over the last 12 to 18 months to try and perfect his cream to what he wants it to be. So I'm not saying everyone needs to do 60 tests or anything, but, you know, doing these little tests in tiny little batches, you know, don't cost you a lot of money to do. They're very small, and a lot of these ingredients in tiny batches are not that expensive. So give everything a go, everyone, and just, you know, practice it. You may get different recipes online and just test them and see how you go. If anyone is you know, watching my Patreon this Saturday, which is tomorrow, so this video will come out after that, but tomorrow we are actually doing a workshop on, and I'm teaching everyone how to do this with the recipe and all the different bits and pieces in the middle as well. But there's probably lots of recipes online. If you don't want to join Patreon, there's lots that you can join online, but otherwise, if you want to, I put all the recipes onto Patreon, and you can get all of those from $7.50 a month. So it's not very much. It's less than 2 coffees a month, and that way you can get all that and enjoy you know, the community that we've got over there about helping and teaching, and I do lots of different blogs and things like that. But like I said, we've got what we need in there now, and the last thing, like I said, is the cetyl alcohol. So I'm just going to grab that and we'll pop it in. Now for the cetyl alcohol, we only need 4 grams, a little tiny bit, not very much at all for this tiny batch. And this is what it looks like. It's very similar to the other palettes, but these ones are white, and I got these ones from N Essentials, and they basically just look like tiny baby little beads. So like I said, we're going to just add these ones in. So we'll just make sure we've got the right amount in here. So what I had on the spoon was absolutely exact, and let me just grab one on my hand just so I can show you like how little these little beads are. So this is what they look like. I mean, that's one that's not really a little bead, but like they're very tiny. So if you can see that, that's how they come. So like I said, we've done that bit, haven't we? So let's go and pop all of this over on a double boil, because we need everything to melt. So basically from here, you're just going to put it on the double boil, and that's it. Just leave it there until it gets to, you know, melting everything down. And then you want both of these containers to be basically the same. But one thing that I learnt as well, and I didn't realize at the start, you know, of course, oil gets hotter than water. So you're going to have, your oil will be maybe 10 degrees more than the water. So what I actually do is when the oil's done, I take that off and just leave the water on a bit longer and try and make sure they're within about 5 degrees from each other, because if you have them 10 or more, they can separate and they won't actually do their thing. Because remember, water and oil doesn't really love each other. We're trying to force it together. And that's, of course, why we're putting in all these extra things, you know, like the emulsifying. That's what we actually need. So like I said, we've done this bit. Let's go and pop them over on my little electric stovetop that I have out here in the studio. You can of course use your stove at home, and like I said, we're just going to put them on there and see how they go. So let's go. So as you can see, everyone, I have them on my little stove top here. So this one here, of course, is our oil one, and this one here is our gooey blue one. So like I said, we need these both to heat up, and we need to melt everything in here. So I'm just going to sit this on a medium temperature. Don't put it on super hot. And then what I'm going to do is just let it slowly do its thing. It will take about 20 minutes. Maybe less, because it's only a small amount, and then from there I'll show you the next bit. So I won't tell you what to do, because I want to just show you. It's much easier if you just watch and see the next step. But basically, you know, if we cut this down and make it easy, we've literally just put all the oil things in one container, all the water things in the other container. That's it. And then just put them in a little water bath, as you can see here. So if you break it down like that, it's not so hard to understand. And then literally the only thing we're going to do is we're going to pour one into the other, and that's it. So I know it looks like, oh no, it's scary, but when you break it down, really simple, that one is oil, one is water, and then you're pouring one into the other when it's melted and mixing it up. That's really easy. So like I said, we've done this bit here, so let's just let these melt down and do their thing, and I'll bring you back. Now, while this is melted, we need to get on to stage 2, and this is basically just sanitizing the jars. So for this one, it's just like I said, a sample. I'm probably only going to need 1 jar, not 2, but I'll just do 2 just in case. And then I'm just going to clean the jars out, making sure they're all nice and sanitized, and then going to put them here. Even if your jars are brand new, they still need to be sanitized because they can have any amount of nasties, dust, or anything that like that along. And of course, all the benches here are sanitized as well, so that is super important. But now let's just get on to letting all of this do its thing, and like I said, then we'll bring you back, we'll mix it all up, and I'll show you the very last step. So now our oil has totally melted down, so you can see it's just typical oil. So I've literally taken this off because this one is going to be hotter than the gel / water that we've already got on the other side. So we just want this to cool down a little bit so that they're a very, very similar temperature. And as I said earlier, do remember, you know, that when we've actually got oil is going to be a lot hotter than the other. So the oil's saying 60 and our water is only saying 51. So like I said, we need that to get down to the right temperature. So we'll just sit this oil off the boil at the moment, and we'll just get the water up to the right temperature, or bring the oil down, whichever one. And then I will show you how this gorgeous thing comes together, because this is the fun bit when you see it all working. Alright, so now both of them are around the 63 degrees, so we are just going to be pouring in the oil into the water phase. So you always need to really pour the oil into this, and straight away it is going to start to become, you know, liquefied, and, you know, start to thicken up a little bit as well. So I'm going to pop that in there, and now we need the stick blender. Alright, so that I can show everybody, I've moved everything around. Now let's turn it on. Now, can you see straight away it turned into this gorgeous, gorgeous cream? Now, you don't have to do this for much, but I know you might think, oh, that looks done. No, you need to actually stir this for quite some time and mix it up, because if you don't, it can separate. So basically, you want the cream to start looking white and not creamish colour, which I know is hard because we put the blue in, but you definitely want that. So I'm going to keep mixing it up, and I will show you, but look how gorgeous that is looking already. So now you can see, look how gorgeous this beautiful butter is starting to look. So I'm going to leave this to cool down, and then we will add our preservatives, our vitamin E, and fragrance if you want any fragrance. So I will bring you back when this is cooled down enough to add all those things in. Alright everyone, so now everything is looking gorgeous, the right temperature, and this is how beautiful it looks. Doesn't it look thick and delish? So just absolutely beautiful. So now we are going to be adding in our vitamin E, and of course we also need to add in our Optifin Plus, because that is our preservative. So don't think you don't need to add it in. 100% you do need to add this in. You can't skip this, unfortunately. You definitely cannot skip this. So, and now you don't need to whip it again with the mixer. You can just do it with the spoon. You don't need to worry about that too much. And as I said, we're just going to be putting in our preservative in here. And this preservative depends what you use, but the one I'm using, which is Optifin Plus, this one works at like a 1% ratio. So but do remember, sometimes your scale won't even pick those measurements up. It's terrible because they're so small. So you have to have one that really does figure all that out. And I mean, look how gorgeous it is. And I'll mix this in properly. And now let's go and pop it in the jars. So now I've got everything ready, and all I'm going to do is literally pop it in my jar. So I'm just popping the jar on top just so I can see how much I can fit in. And like I said, this is only a test for me. This is not for anyone else. If this was for another person, honestly, I wouldn't be pouring it in like I'm doing now. I would probably pipe this in just to make sure it's neater and, you know, just goes in beautiful. And do remember, cream is heavier because it has the shea butters and things like that in it. So you're going to get more in the jar. And look what a mess I've made, but that's okay. Like I said, it's just for me. It's only a test. If it was for someone else, 100% you need gloves on and all of those things that I've taken my gloves off now. But, you know. So this one is going to definitely fit 100 odd. Look at the mess I've made. So let me just clean this up. And I can't have you seeing that looking so messy, can I? But as I said, that's why I would definitely be using something else. That looks so much better. So now that one looks gorgeous. And I've made a temporary sticker. This one is not the finished one because I haven't, all the writing's too small on it. But I thought just for the purpose for today, I usually put some sort of sticker or something on it, even when it's just a test one for me, just so I'll know what it actually is. Anyway, so there is my rough, very rough testing blueberry one, as you can see there. So literally that is what it is. So we've tested that, we've seen that it looks gorgeous, and I will test this one out and see. But like I said, I've literally only made a batch to fill that jar. There's a little bit extra, but most of it will only just fill the jar, and then I'll probably have a little bit to give to one of my other daughters and they can test it as well. But I hope you have loved today's video to give you an idea of how easy it actually is to make it. And to be really honest, it's much easier to make it in mass batches because the smaller the batch, the harder it is to whip and everything else. Like a big batch is just easier to use the stick blender and mix it all up. But as I said, I hope you have enjoyed how gorgeous this one looks. And it does look super beautiful, doesn't it? Anyway, I will see you on the next video. Make sure you give me a massive thumbs up. Bye, everyone.